Hello everyone, you're watching Smoking Hot Coffee. My name is Amol. We talk to startup founders every day, Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm joined with...
Hey guys, I'm Jeff.
And today we've got a great interview with PR Lambert from Learndot.com. Jeff, tell us more about Learndot.
Yeah, so Learndot is a cool product. It's a big vision, make learning a competitive advantage. So they kind of have tried a few different things. They're headed in a more tight direction now. But for your company, basically like a blog on fire, just an incredible, better learning tool for your customers, or even your internal employees who want to learn more about your company or the practices that you're preaching.
Right. So typically, if you have an internal training for people that are coming on board, if you've got a company and you've got an HR and they have all this training manuals and videos, and so they help put all that stuff online. There's mechanisms to help quiz people. I mean, obviously this could be great for onboarding onboarding employees, but this could also be turned into a mechanism for companies that want to create courses or certification if they're in a specific segment. For example, go ahead, Jeff. Give us a good use case example.
I mean, any software as a service, really, all of the web tools that we're seeing pop up, a lot of them are targeted at businesses, like Hootsuite or things like UserVoice, all these different
Get Satisfaction.
To get satisfaction, if you don't know, it's used for. It's like the feedback tab side of website. It helps a company engage with their customers' feedback primarily. And so the feedback. So this learn for get satisfaction will teach you how to make the best use of the tool for your customers. You might know that this is a great tool out there for you, but you don't know the best practices, the way that you're supposed to use.
Absolutely. And for specific categories, specific markets like social media, for example, there's a ton of tools, there's a ton of training, and a company like Hootsuite could create a Learndot Hootsuite and build a whole course on the best practices, things that you should be doing, and when you want to engage people using social media, and build literally a certification around that. And Learndot helps facilitate those sorts of.
In fact, you can charge for that certification at the end, right? Proof that you completed the course. So very tangible, incredible objective, I think, to wrap up courses. People have this authors and teachers and people are creating this stuff. I think this helps put it into a course format for them, helps people get to it so they can learn more.
Absolutely.
The things that make them better and work and everything.
Absolutely, and that's one of Learndot's missions. PR's mission is to make the world a smarter place. And so essentially this is like basically it's a course builder. And I think it's a great idea. There's tons of marketplaces that need to train their employees. Zerly is one that it was one that we mentioned in the show. There's tons of authors coming out with all kinds of content, and maybe they should be building quizzes and courses around their content. And there's another new revenue stream. I think there's a lot of potential for this. So there's a lot of really great stuff in this interview. You're going to learn how he started in Vancouver and how he pivoted, the kind of customer development interviews that he did, and how working closely with customers, they kind of stumbled onto this. And so some great lessons there. And of course, he's in the middle of it. He moved from Vancouver to San Francisco. He's kind of literally several blocks away from Twitter, so he's like right in the middle of Silicon Valley, in the heart of it. And so you can get it from person in the trenches. So that's always valuable, in my opinion.
Yep, absolutely. These guys are going after a really big vision, and we applaud them for making the world a better place with this product, I think. So it's a great story to hear how they're doing, and what they've learned along the way.
Absolutely. So, all right. So with that, we do this Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you can tell your friends and colleagues and subscribe to our show, we'd really appreciate it. You can always email us. In fact, we really encourage people to email us. info@smokinghotcoffee.com. Jeff?
Yep, and you can find us subscribe button on our website. We find our YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and all the rest.
Absolutely. So please do that, and we really count on the subscription. So please do. And so with that, unless you have anything to add, Jeff, let's cut to the show. Hey, Paul, thanks for coming on our show. I really appreciate it. How you doing?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm doing well.
It's our pleasure.
Yeah.
So Paul, you're a referral from another Paul from skyscraper.io. I see you're wearing their shirt today.
Yeah, I am. I'm
Pull back
representing.
and show. There you go. Awesome.
sport the
Paul was
swag.
gracious enough to give us the referral. So tell us really briefly your story. Learndot is beautifully designed site. I know you guys are in the learning online education space. Tell us why you got into it. What was the main problem that you were trying to solve, and how things are. How you found your team and how things are going right now.
Sure. I mean, that's a really
lot
big
there.
question. I don't know. I
That's a big question. I know.
Most of the time, I'll give the relatively short answer, and then we can dive into pieces that sound juicy. So started Learndot. It wasn't called Learndot originally. It was called Matigo, which is a more difficult to pronounce name, and hence we changed it. About 3.5 years ago, as I was finishing a computer science degree in Vancouver at UBC. And through Vancouver is how I know the other Paul. There's three sort of us who grow up. Started that to help make some learning tools for my own classes. So originally it was.
Got you. So were you in Vancouver when you started Learndot or Montego, and then you moved to SF? Yeah,
that's correct.
Okay.
So I've only moved here recently. Most of our team is actually in Vancouver.
Gotcha.
All right.
So started working on some learning tools for the classes I was teaching, got some professors to adopt those. So originally we were very much in the higher education space, sort of competing with Blackboard, that kind of space, learning management systems. Got some really good adoption there from users, built a product, deployed it to a couple thousand students in our first 3-4 months. So that was great, and then we realized it's really, really hard to monetize in higher ed, so we went into this accelerator program, Grow Lab in Vancouver. They're great. Hooked us up with a lot of really, really smart people that we, before that we were just kind of guys writing code in a room and hoping someone would use a product. And then all of a sudden we were introduced to all these people who had been through it before and knew how companies are built and how investment is done. And it really sort of helped us mature quickly. And after that,
before you go on with the rest of it, there's a couple of things. So you started building a tool for the learning management space. Why did you do that? I mean, I'm sure these professors or students, whoever you were serving, weren't there existing tools in the market, and what was the impetus behind that?
Yeah, lots of existing tools. They were all pretty bad and hard to use. No one was too excited about them. I'd been a student for like 6 years before this, and working as a teaching assistant, and on both sides of it, there was just no end of complaints. Gotcha.
Okay, so let me go into this, because this is a big This is a big issue for me and for the show and for our viewers. So the problem is that there was existing learning management software out there. It wasn't easy. It was difficult to use, or there were some issues. Maybe the product market fit wasn't quite right for the market that you felt that you were in. And you were obviously trying to scratch your own itch as a learning assistant. That kind of thing, and you're like, what the hell, man? I'm just going to make it. I'm going to fix this problem. I'm going to make our own version. What was some of the key insights? Removing features, simplifying it. Where was your secret sauce? Or
why was everybody complaining about Blackboard so much? Like, I mean, I've been on that side of the student side of that, and I heard teachers complaining about it in class. Everyone was always complaining about it. What was their pain point? That made it so. Why was Blackboard not able to, soothe their pains? They're making so much money.
Yeah, I mean, we realized later that there's a huge disjoint between the buyer and the user, right? So the people who are actually buying these systems, it's kind of like a large enterprise sale in that sense, where the people who sort of the IT make the decisions are not the end user. So really, those complaints are basically around usability and not being modern, but frankly, it's mostly design and usability. People just found it really, really frustrating to set up, to migrate data from one semester to the next, to just like have, it was built over 15 years or something, right? Like it was.
Oh, I got you. So there's all this legacy, there's all this bloat.
Very, very legacy. And it was deployed. I mean, I think they have an on-demand service now, but at the time when we started, it was all. Behind the firewall by a 5-year license, and you don't get an update for 5 years, and by the end of that you have to be using ICE 6 to get your content, and it was just a mess.
Just an old generation needed to be put to pasture.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it sounds like so. So you built something, but you're saying you couldn't get people to pay. I know schools are very slow in the sales cycles are really long. Were you trying to get the professors to pay, the school admins, or the students?
So the model that I think works the best, if you look at the higher ed successes of the last couple of years, has been actually getting students to pay. So the same way they pay for like a Click or a textbook or something like that, they're buying technology. That didn't really work for us because we were going in and essentially saying, hey, you already have this service. It's completely, well, actually, it's paid for by your university. So go above and beyond to pay for this. And they didn't really. It wasn't a natural fit as like a school supply. And so then the natural step would be to sell it to the admin and IT, who are currently buying these learning management systems as just a competitive product. But that was a battle we were never going to win. Because
that's a long battle. That's a really long battle.
Very, very long battle, and they're very, very risk adverse. So think about it. We're 3-4 guys, in our mid-20s who are sitting in a room versus, and they want to be very confident that you're going to be around.
Of course, and there are always a lot of people trying to cover their asses. Their bosses want to make sure everything's all copacetic. Yeah.
So, but that's it. There are a lot of people who've done great things in the space, and we pivoted out of that. So I don't want to spend actually too much time on this because realistically, we're not serving universities anymore at all, and that's not our product and user base anymore. But there's a company called Piazza that's done really well. There's a company called Lore that used to be CourseKit that was sort of a competitor of ours, and I think they were still doing really well. And they've just gone with the freemium. They've gone with the freemium approach, and to be honest, I don't know if they've figured out how to monetize yet, but they've got great adoption and they're building a great product. So at least somebody is helping these poor people that are still stuck on these legacy systems.
I'm glad to hear it. It's just painful, the stories that you hear on campus.
Yeah. Things are moving forward.
All right. So you pivoted out of that. You stumbled onto this accelerator. So tell us about that.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know if we really stumbled upon it as much as so it was opening in Vancouver. We were in Vancouver, which was convenient. At the time, we were thinking about applying to the big American ones like Y Combinator and Techstars. But we looked at the people starting this, and there were some people that we knew were pretty legit, had done some really great things, and so we applied, and I mean, we got into their very first cohort. It was pretty competitive. I think they got over 350 or 400 applications, and only 5 companies got in. So it was a pretty high quality group of people. So we were happy to go with it, and it was kind of your typical accelerator model. It was 3.5 months, demo day at the end. They give you a small amount of funding at the beginning for a small amount of equity. But it was definitely a great experience for us. For first-time entrepreneurs, I'd highly recommend it.
So tell us a little bit more about it. Earlier you were saying the knowledge that was shared from other people. Was it your peers, or who was it that had the experience that really, what was the advantage there?
So I think, I've only done this one, but I think most accelerators kind of have their main founder mentors. So at YC it's Paul Graham and the other partners. For us there was 5. A guy named Boris Wirtz, who's probably the top angel investor in Canada. Debbie Landa, who lives in San Francisco, but she's Canadian. 2 other guys, Mike Tippett, who now works at Hootsuite. There's a lot of people involved. Jason Bailey, who started Super Rewards, worked with other companies, and a guy named Leonard Brody. And they've all these people have built at least one company that really made it. Most of them have done at least 2 that been multi-million-dollar exit businesses.
Yeah, good exit. So these guys have been in the trenches. They know what it takes. Yeah.
Yeah, and they have a lot of different perspectives. So like Jason is an entrepreneur's entrepreneur. Like he's just really gritty and a super hustler, and he likes to talk about how he I don't know if it's true, but he says he grew up in a trailer park and he just did anything to make money. On the other hand, you have Boris, who's like an investor and a very active investor and has an amazing portfolio. So he really knows what it takes to position yourself for financing and can make all the introductions to people all around the world. He's German, but does a lot of deals in Silicon Valley. So you get all these different perspectives, and again, for someone who hadn't done it before, it's just a really rapid maturation process.
Right. So this is where you decided to change the name. Is this is where you decided to pivot?
Yeah, So the name change came a little bit after, but we basically said, okay, well, what are we about as a company? We want to make we'd always said this, and this is still true. We always wanted to work on stuff that helped make the world a smarter place. So how can we use technology to leverage the advancement of learning, which is really a type of communication? How do we get ideas shared among people? And
I like that. Learning is a type of communication. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, certainly it is, right? It's just a subset of communication. So we started to look a little bit outside the box and say when people think learning, they automatically think things like universities and K-12, but there's a lot of learning that happens outside of that, right?
Absolutely.
Actually, I'd say the vast majority of it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Big proponent of that, yeah.
Yeah, this is Jeff. Jeff, tell us why you love this whole learning beyond the university.
Yeah, I mean, well, let me just tell you my thing with Blackboard, actually, and be pointed about it. When I was in college in computer science, I was sitting there going, they're supposedly graduating all these great computer science students, but they can't replace Blackboard in a summer? Like, really, I just was really bummed out by the, quality of what they were producing. And, and in other words, the university at the time was teaching nothing web at all that I could find. And so, I was like, I'm going to go teach myself LAMP, and I found a whole slew of jobs in California that I didn't even know existed as well.
Right.
So I'm a big fan of the fact that education can kind of happen at your own, your own interest, your own desires to fulfill. For me, it's a creative desire to be able to build websites, and I had to learn how to do that. But I think most of that happens online, or can. You don't go buy a textbook. You go Google the answer.
Yeah, the non-traditional learning thing is a big thing nowadays. Absolutely.
But even if you think about before the internet, I mean, people have been, the printing press. Like we are constantly teaching ourselves, and what technology does is make us more efficient, and it broadens our reach as human beings. If you take any piece of technology, it'll enhance existing processes, at least the successful ones. So what we're realizing now is that this thing we want to do and love to do because we're innately curious animals can really be enabled by technology. So that's where we fit into the non-traditional learning. But in a way, I think it's very traditional because, like I said, for literally the history of humankind, adults have been seeking out new information and
that's right.
trying to teach themselves things.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was your mission. You want to definitely make the world smarter. You decided to make a pivot. How did this end up at Learndot? What was the impetus behind that?
So I'll tell you a little bit what we do today. So if you look at our website, we actually talk about making learning kind of competitive advantage, which is really about how do we help businesses leverage learning to build their business. And we
I
talk
love
about
this. So really briefly, sorry to interrupt. I'm looking on your site. I'm looking at the nice, beautiful design you've got here, and you've got who needs to learn in your world. You've got customers, partners, team. I love that you're bringing the whole kind of ecosystem. It isn't just one party; it's multiple parties. Our learning tools ensure that you get it so you can scale with confidence. Your corporate university. So is this like a internal intranet type of thing for an industry, for a sector?
Yeah, so the reason the name of just to talk about what you're saying there with not really just saying we want to be this learning center. That's why the company's named is Learndot. That's the subdomain we kind of want to own. Like how you have your mail will be mail.smokinghotcoffee.com. We want to be learn.smokinghotcoffee.com.
Oh, okay.
Pretty much. Right. So and we are actually usually that subdomain for our customers. So
okay.
The goal is to build that knowledge center, that learning center, because we believe every organization has something to teach the world. And a lot of what that is, the immediate thought is like specific products. Like say you're building a social media tool, you got to teach people how to use your product. But it actually goes, the real value comes when you go much, much beyond that and get to sort of the realms of thought leadership and say, okay, well, let's not teach people just the nuts and bolts of the tool. Let's teach them how does that improve their objectives in life? How can they become, know the strategy behind social media? How do you do this effectively? Something that they want to put on their resume, give them a certification. So there's a couple companies, like Hootsuite has done a really great job. They have a multi-million-dollar revenue stream now purely through their learn.hootsuite.com. Get Satisfaction is a customer of ours. They've also done a really great job. And what they're doing is, they're teaching the world about the idea that is important to them.
Wait. So let's back up. There's a lot you just said right there. That's huge.
Yeah, sorry.
Hold on. No. I don't apologize. I'm just trying to absorb this. This is pretty intense. So you're saying Hootsuite, which is in the social media tooling space for businesses, small and large, has built a learning system or a learning curriculum, and and is charging for this, and you guys are helping them develop it?
So I don't want to take too much credit here. Hootsuite's been a big inspiration with us, and we work closely with them. They're good friends of ours. They're both from Vancouver. Their platform is not Learndot today because they've been building it for before we even existed. But they're definitely an inspiration for us, and we do talk.
I see. This is where you would like to take Learndot for.
Well, yeah, and I mean it's an example of what we can provide for people who are looking to get into that, who don't already have a platform the way Hootsuite does, but want to build one. We can provide that to them. So. So you can go get Hootsuite certified. For $21 a month, you maintain your subscription, and that's actually a fairly significant business for them.
Wow,
that's a really interesting idea. I hadn't even thought about that as a revenue model for them.
Yeah, I mean, even for Get Satisfaction, which is one of our customers, they're doing community manager certification. I believe they're charging $400 for that one-time fee as a certification. So. I mean,
so what exactly are they certifying folks in? Is it because I know that's more of a website feedback tool and surveying tool, right?
But it's more about the theory and practice around how to be a really great community manager. Mm-hmm. So what they do as a business is to build communities of customers, and they're sort of their champions are people who manage these communities and drive value for their business by growing community. And there's a lot of strategy behind that.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think this is a whole big category. So, I'm sorry, Jeff, what were you saying?
Yeah, this is just huge. I can see like a lot of people sign up for Get Satisfaction because they're told to do it or someone said it'd be a good idea, but they have no idea how to actually put it to practice.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a great tool of the new age, but they're kind of dumbfounded. A lot of people could be not sure how to use it at all.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's pretty much what we focus on, and like we said, we think in the future, people are going to be getting a lot of these certifications. Like for whatever it is that you need to do in life, there's probably a business out there who will build some sort of product or tooling or service to help you do that. So they will probably have a learn.theirbusiness.com, and you can go there and get certified on the theory that matters to them.
Oh, this is fabulous, man. This is really great. All right, so tell us about your early stages. Obviously, you got these connections at the incubator. How did you get your early customers? How was that coming along? How's the product and that kind of thing?
Yeah, so obviously one of the downsides of a pivot is that you kind of got to go back to square zero for your customer base. But that was okay. So and the second time around, we decided to really take a kind of customer development blank-ish approach, and before really diving down into the niche that we're in now, and to be honest, if you could tell, the speech I was giving just even the last 5-10 minutes was really on the customer focus, and we're actually narrowing even more into the customer and less internal and partners, even though all three is still on our website. So our thinking's even ahead of where our marketing is right now. But we interviewed tons of different companies, probably almost 200 companies. And these are like hour-long interviews saying, what's your pain points, how do you do learning, and stuff like that.
I love this. Customer development is one of my favorite topics past acquisition. This is my favorite part. So how did you know which companies to go after? What was that like? Like, how did you identify these people? How hard was it to get them on the phone? Did you do it over Hangouts? Like, tell us about that.
Yeah, so at the beginning, at the start of it was a really shotgun approach. We said that we want to, eyes open without any preconception, just understand how learning is approached and where does that fit into business today at a really high level. So we'd go to companies, kind of whoever would talk to us. So whoever we knew in the city, and then we went to a big learning conference called ASTD, which is the American Society of Training and Development. And just kind of started talking to people, and these are all professionals who are running their learning and development departments at larger companies, and this is sort of traditional learning and development primarily, so largely internal-facing, new employee onboarding. It's kind of tightly coupled with HR. But at this point in the customer development process, we weren't sure if that was where we wanted to go or elsewhere, so we kind of just did a like I said, a shotgun approach at the beginning. And then, maybe unsurprisingly, we started seeing which interviews really started resonating and either had a really strong pain point or they were really excited to work with us. And you kind of need this intersection of capacity to be an early adopter, so somebody who wants to try what it is you're building early, believes in the vision, they know it's not going to be perfect at the beginning, and has the pain and has Yeah, it
has
has
a problem
pain,
they
right?
want to solve, and they're as passionate about it, and is willing to try whatever you're going to make for them.
Exactly. So
Gotcha.
there's people who have a lot of pain, and there's people who are willing to try anything, and you're looking for the intersection of those sets. And so we ended up, unsurprisingly, focusing on technology companies that were growing quickly because they get it. They want cloud-based software. They're in that first set of early adopters because we talked to like lots of banks and like we talked to, like Tiffany and Co. and like all these people, but they were not going to take a
We're all
risk.
over the map. There wasn't a specific sector. You're just randomly.
All
right, but then you found.
Yeah, totally
So then
shotgun
you
at the
found
beginning.
then you found like the internet techie guys, tech startups. They're the ones that really are going to be good for us.
Yeah, well, they were like, we get it. We're like, we have this problem. This is exciting, and we'll try your crappy software that you've only been building for 3 weeks, right? So,
I was going to add a circle to the Venn diagram. You also want early adopters that are technically apt,
Yeah,
that are running Internet Explorer 6.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then
that's cool. What kind of really briefly, I just want to go a little bit deeper into this. What kind of questions did you find that really hit home? Because we're big fans of the foundation, Dave Maxwell, and the whole like customer pain, follow the pain. What kind of questions did you ask? Were they just pretty open ended, like what are the big problems you're having at work or that kind of thing, or?
It changes throughout the process. So at the beginning, when you really don't have that much of an idea, it's definitely open-ended questions that are just trying to be like, if you could change one thing about your process at work, what would it be? If I gave you, $10,000 that you could spend on anything, what would you do? Or a magical tool you could just poof exist, what would it be?
Right.
Really open-ended to just try to elucidate what's keeping them up at night. But once.
And did you do this in person? Did you do this over the phone?
Both. When we could, we do it in person, but the majority of them were probably over the phone just because we were trying to talk to people everywhere.
Gotcha. And were you doing this by yourself? Were you having a couple of your partners kind of do a conference?
Yeah, so there's a guy who works with us, Nick, who helped me out with it quite a bit. He's a big fan of the customer development approach, too. He's actually sort of probably more the internal champion than I even was. Or at least I bought into it, but he was really.
The reason why I'm kind of asking these specific questions is that getting away from your computer or getting out of the building to do interviews with customers within a certain sector or whatever is so underappreciated and not done enough. So I'm just really happy that you guys did that, and I just want to know more about that.
Yeah, for sure. So we found that the best way to approach people is. So people really have a guard up against sales or like any kind of, but you approach them as students, and it really like our success rate was definitely over 50%, probably over 70 or 80% of essentially cold intros, or you find someone on LinkedIn who knows somebody. But I would say probably 3/4 of the time we tried to get a meeting, we'd get it, because the email would just be like, hey, I just want to learn about how you work and hopefully maybe improve it, but I don't have anything to sell, at least not at this point. And everyone wants to help people, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so, that's cool. I like that. That's a nice little cold email intro. Yeah, that could work.
I mean, it doesn't work later when you have a product you're actually trying to sell because you have to be truthful, but early on it does work.
That's cool. So what did you learn out of all these interviews, 100 or so?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a funnel, right? It's not like you do the 100 and then you reach a conclusion. It's a constantly iterative process. So we zoomed and sort of figured out that these fast-growing tech companies they experience a problem and they are willing early adopters. Product subscription-based companies have a lot of learning challenges because their product is constantly changing. So in cloud-based services we can integrate with. Well, so we kind of zoomed in on that segment. Got a number of customers in sort of both the internal partner and customer-facing bucket. And have discovered sort of as our thinking, and this is now we actually have people using the product paying us. So some of these interviews, people say, "This is great. Can I actually use it?" So this is how we acquired our first customers. I should just go back to. So we had some people paying us using it, and then just kind of seeing where the most traction was, and then trying to look at our pipeline and say, okay, what's the big idea here? And that's where we really sort of had this aha moment around that every company has something to teach the world, and that no one's really enabling that yet, and we think this is going to be a big part of the future. So we see a really big opportunity for us to position ourselves as that company and basically make that our niche. We're the company that will help you teach the world anything. And it just kind of came through iteration.
I love this. So theoretically, I'm not to interrupt, but theoretically we could type Learndot some big brand, and there could be some learning resources, possibly. Or even a medium-sized company, let's say.
Mm-hmm. Or I mean, really any company. I mean, even if you're like a small content-based company, like Smoking Hot Coffee or something, it's not a big stretch to think that you guys would want to maybe offer a course on customer development or some sort of thing like that.
Yeah. So this is great. It's almost like an evolution of a blog as an outreach or like a platform to kind of speak your, the way people, depends how people use their blog, but I love this idea. Are you seeing the interest from the companies for more of the external customer-facing usage, or are they still using it? Are you still doing internal training for employees, or is it kind of shared, or is it two completely different things?
So I mean, in theory, theoretically, ideally, it's more or less external. That is what we're focusing on now. We're gonna be updating our homepage and stuff. We even get inbound stuff from schools too. Like there's a lot of stuff that's just way outside that you kind of have to say no to, and it's true. It's hard saying no. And we have some customers that, like, probably they may be watching this, but one of our best customers uses us primarily for internal, and they're great in every single sense of the word. So
let's break that one down, if you don't mind. Give us some very specific use cases for this specific customer.
Okay, so I mean, I'm happy to say that. So it's Zirtual. They're virtual assistants, really fast-growing company, all U.S.-based personal assistants, based in San Francisco. So what they do is they're hiring people that are almost like temp workers. I mean, they probably wouldn't want me saying that, but they're people who are from all over the country. They may have just finished school. They might be looking for part-time work or whatever. So they're coming from all these different walks of life, and they need to really quickly get up to speed to be able to service Zirtual's customers. And the thing for Zirtual is that they're people. These people are their product, right? It's almost like Lyft or something where the people, like the interaction with their customers and their company is through a direct personal connection. So they need to their quality control is essentially their training.
Yeah. No, I see what you're saying. So because it's all people, person, human to human, training that person and making sure that they provide somewhat of a standardized service is very, very, very important, I imagine.
Right, and they need to be able to do it over distances because they're hiring people all over the state, so it needs to be completely online. Okay. So that was a really great fit for our, the initial value proposition of having a really easy way to, teach whoever what it is you need to teach them and do it online. But they're fairly niche. Like, I don't think there's going to be a million Zirtuals out there, right? So it's a great client for us, and we're going to obviously continue to support them and build for them and all that stuff. But I think most of our future business will be more of the Hootsuite University, Get Satisfaction University, Smoking Hot Coffee University style.
Interesting. Yeah. No, it's cool. It's a cool approach. I do think there's an opportunity with the Zirtuals and the marketplaces. It seems like there's so many of them. You mentioned Lyft, or there's Uber. In Santa Monica or whatever, they got all those the drivers showing up for interviews in person. But I can imagine there being a training issue, or even something like Airbnb, right? Like, I'm sure they could have a training or lessons for their or whatever it is for their the hosts. You can go and list your place, but maybe there's best practices, like for how to be a good host, or for different things. So I mean, Mool and I talk about a lot of different marketplaces and kind of
absolutely
emerging. I think that's an interesting use case for sure. To get the whole marketplace trained as a distributed training. I mean, because they're not connected by a central location.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's interesting. It's something we look quite a bit at, and I can talk about why we decided that. Because I agree, on the surface it sounds great, but there's a bunch of reasons I don't want to use it all the time, but that we believe is not actually the right direction for us right now.
Okay, so tell us more about where you would like to see Learndot go and all of that. I know Zirtual is one example, but maybe more of the larger customer base you're thinking.
Yeah, so I mean, I think Get Satisfaction is a great example. So I mean, we'd already spoken about them, but they're a subscription-based product. They've got something to teach the world. There's people out there who want to get good and acquire this skill, and they see them as thought leaders. And really what they're doing is using Learndot as an extension to their content marketing. And it's sort of like, there was sort of this wave of marketing automation and the HubSpot type value propositions, and we think Learndot almost sits on top of that, where it really solidifies your positioning as a thought leader, and it's like courses are almost like the next evolution of inbound content marketing.
Wow.
So that's
I love that. Yeah. Content marketing, and then on top of that, these sort of structured courses with certification, possibly. Yeah.
Yeah. So not only are you generating leads and driving engagement and usage and adoption like you would with normal, white papers or whatever, you're actually generating revenue. So you win on two sides. You have more engaged customer bases. You have evangelists, and on top of that, you just make money. So it's not a bad deal.
Okay, so let's talk about guest satisfaction really briefly. So you got them on as a beta, however you got them, and then what does this product look like? How do they get started? Is this, how do they build a course? Tell us more about all that.
Yes, so guest satisfaction was a result of one of our later but still customer development interviews, so it wasn't part of the sales process. It was kind of when we were still figuring stuff out. It just happened to be a great fit. And we were coming to San Francisco, so we just tried to set up with a bunch of meetings with a bunch of companies down here. So they already had been running a couple webinars, and this is quite typical of our customers in the segment. They generally have already started to see the value in this, and they've made some investments themselves into either a wiki or often running webinars. But the problem with that is that webinars are not super scalable. You can record them, but no one ever really wants to watch them over. You're not really testing people. You're not building community around it, really. I mean, you can use tools like SSActive, but it's not like built into the learning experience. It's really hard to run certification, or you'll need a separate testing tool. So they wanted something that was more scalable, looked great, and they can build once and just let fly. So we sort of showed them our early screens for the product, and one of their co-founders who was in charge of their learning initiative just got it. Her eyes lit up right away, and it was kind of a perfect match.
Wow.
Thanks.
How long does it take for an average company like, let's say, Get Satisfaction to put together a course using your system?
Yeah, so that's the question that always comes up, and it's kind of like saying, if you just signed up for, HubSpot, or how long would it take you to get a bunch of content built, or even like a blogging platform. It really depends where you're coming from. So if you already have a bunch of videos and you have a bunch of wiki content, you can put in our system quite easily, because you'll just essentially migrate it directly. We have a Google Docs type editor. You can put anything in there: videos, slideshows, text.
Gotcha.
And then we really believe in, obvious, probably putting in that startup culture that you can iterate your content and just use data to make it very data driven, and actually just kind of put what you have in there as a course, see if people are understanding it, and what they're not understanding, and then improve those pieces. But on the other hand, if you have nothing and you're coming to us and you're like, I want to build a huge big certification course and I have no content, it's going to take you some time.
Of course. Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah.
And are you and your team, do you guys kind of help handhold them into that, or does the product kind of, through a series of questions and your own internal tutorials, help them with that, or?
Yeah, there's both. So the product itself has a wizard type interface, and we definitely try to prompt questions and help people build good courses who aren't expert, teachers, or they don't have master's degrees in learning theory. These are just people who want to build. They're generally marketers or something like that. So we help them do that the right way. But if they do want to offload some of that, we'll offer as a service some content creation, and we actually have some partners that will do that through, so we can focus on the software. But the shorter answer is yes. As much service as they need, we'll provide.
Well, so let's talk really briefly about the company. So how big is your team right now?
4 full-time and 1 contractor.
That's great. That's great. So, you got some venture funding? How are you guys keeping this dream alive?
Yeah. So we raised some money after Grow Lab.
Oh, you raised some money.
Right.
Okay. How much did you raise there?
About $515. So I think it's about the same as what Skyscraper did. Yeah. And I mean, we do make revenue. I know it's a crazy idea, but we do get paid. Yeah, so that's what we're doing right now. I mean, we're between that, we're doing all right. The team isn't very expensive. There's only 4 of us, and we're certainly not making market salaries. So
Right. No, you guys are hustling right now.
Tell us, where's the team at?
So there's me and Nick here in San Francisco, and then Joe, who's my co-founder and our CTO, and Arthur, who's a developer, senior software developer, and designer, all in Vancouver. So there's the contractor and 2 software guys are in Vancouver, and then me and Nick are down here.
Gotcha. Before we got on, you mentioned how you guys use Hangouts and do standing meetings. What's your feeling? How do you feel about this whole distributed workforce? And tell us more about that.
It would be a much more of a problem, I think, if we weren't in the same time zone. Because we've done that before when I was traveling, and it was just really out of sync. But because we're in the same time zone, and it's funny, even when we were all working together in Vancouver, we communicate primarily through our computers. Like we'd have, hip chat open all day. Like, I'm a developer by training. Like you hang out in the IRC. It's just kind of what you do. So, it's like it really isn't that different. We're waking up at the same time. We're going to bed at the same time. We're in the same chat rooms all day. It's been fine.
Yeah, you're right. That time zone difference, Vancouver, we're all in the same time zone, so that helps a lot. Absolutely. What do you guys, in terms of just keeping the company together and cohesive? Do you guys have like specific office hours? Do you guys just leave the Hangout open all the time? How do you guys, without any specific reason to really talk to each other, how do you guys feel each other, so to speak?
Well, I mean, some of it is structured, where we have, regular meetings. We have an absolute team, all hands meetings where we all report what we're doing for the week on Tuesdays, but we'll have sort of ad hoc meetings almost every day. And then a lot of it is just by the fact that we're very collaborative. I'm communicating with everyone in the team every day, and so is everyone else. Again, there's only 4 of us. I think if there was, this would be a problem to solve at a scale beyond this, but we don't really have that problem.
Gotcha. No, it makes sense. Are there any specific cloud tools you guys are using that are really, really working for you? I mean, like a Basecamp or something like that?
So we use Hangouts, we use HipChat, and a lot of the Atlassian tools for our software development. We use Jira for issue tracking and stuff like that. Use Google Docs for pretty much all of our office type needs. Trello a little bit I'm starting to use for some lightweight project management.
Gotcha.
Nice.
Gotcha. All right, let me get into the more of the kind of future. Like, what channels have you found for customer acquisition? Are you doing any sort of paid advertising, any content marketing, getting blog posts or any of that kind of thing? Or what have you found has helped with the inbound or outbound?
So I think probably just because I haven't done a whole lot of effort on outbound, but we've done the inbound's done pretty well. So we had a couple blog articles that did well. So we did an interview with the director of Hootsuite University. That's the second article you can see there. A lot of people like that. We've had some press and stuff like that, and we're sort of at the point where, and we've had some referrals too. And one of the other really nice things about the customer-facing version of our product, which is really the future of our product, is that it's inherently viral, because you're at Get Satisfaction, and now you work for some other company, and you're taking their Learndot, and you're like, well, why doesn't my company have a Learndot? So we're getting exposed through their own customer channels.
Of course.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. So it sounds to me like you need to try to get as many of these guys on using Learndot, and then through that you'll just it'll just grow simply because people will see.
Yeah, we need to pump the viral. I mean, we haven't optimized that to the level I'd like to, and that's something that's going to be more of a focus going forward. It's kind of funny. You figure out more about your market, and then you focus on product, and you feel more. It's kind of like this unbalance all the time. You try to get towards product market fit, right? So we just got a lot of market data, and right now we're really kind of get the product up to speed as we sort of narrow in on customers. There's a bunch of features that are really killer features for that segment that we want to get done. Then once we have those, and fill the funnel again, and as it goes.
How do you manage the product development and the iteration and taking the feedback? And really, I think the most difficult thing is knowing how to prioritize those features. or the product, the front end, and it sounds like that's an important part to make sure that all these people who are running into you guys get a great first impression, so that they want to bring it to their own company.
Yeah, no, for sure. It all stems from focus and understanding your customers, right? So we've had an easier job prioritizing now that we're saying, okay, we're going to do this customer-facing training, and this is really because we now know there are things that matter more to that use case than, say, an internal use case.
Okay.
And then after that, you sort of prioritize in a perfect world based on value, which is really acuity of the pain, right? So there's something you really can't do that it would just kill to do. So.
Gotcha. It's a good way to, prioritization we talk about a lot on the show. It's so difficult to know, what the features that you really have to build are and the ones that you can put aside.
Absolutely.
Too much time just messing around with the product itself, too often.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there a specific feature that's going to be coming up that you can talk about that you can't wait to launch and it's what people have been asking for?
There's two actually. One has been coming for so long, I'm almost embarrassed to admit that it's not quite out yet.
All right.
Which has been in beta for a while, and we're finally fully releasing it in the next week or two.
Okay.
Is auto-graded tests and basically multiple-choice type questions. So most of our testing now is actually manually graded. So it's it's a huge thing. People are signing up so that they can build these scalable universities. It's pretty important to be able to test automatically.
Yeah.
So, I might say, okay, this is what you got right, this is what you got wrong, passed, didn't pass, Mr. Certification. Then the second one is group management. So people have a customer group from, I'm just making up, say they're an enterprise company. So say they have, a group at Samsung and a group at HP and a group at McDonald's. They want to group those people and put them through courses as cohorts, and that allows us to do cohort testing. So that grouping feature, I think, is really going to be a really big differentiator because it'll make
That's an interesting idea. So
earlier you were talking about analytics for the instructor to be able to judge their own material and see maybe where they need to step it up a little bit. But how much have you guys thought about getting into the analytics with stuff like that?
Yeah,
it's definitely.
And how much time do you spend on that with the product?
Yeah, it's a big part too. I mean, the system is built in a way that we do micro testing after every small content chunk. So it's not like you take 10 videos in a row and then you write an exam. You watch a bunch of really short videos if you're doing video. We would recommend no longer than 5, probably ideally 3 minutes, and then you do a little bit of quizzing. And what that does is it gives you fairly fine-grained data of what's working, what isn't, and we show that in an analytics dashboard so that again they can iterate much more efficiently. So they don't just know somebody say failed an exam; they know that concept 3 is where they got hung up.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. In your opinion, what's kind of the big product that a lot of these guys have been using? I mean, is it a specific wiki or that you guys can see people migrating from to you guys?
The biggest one is webinars. Like everyone's doing webinars of some kind.
Everybody is doing webinars. I was just on a webinar yesterday. Last night.
So that'd be the biggest one. I mean, I guess we are competing for some dollars with the webinar companies, but we're not saying abandoning webinars fully. Kind of like how classrooms are moving to more of a hybrid-based thing. You can view what we're doing as enabling that too, where you do a lot of self-paced stuff and maybe a little bit of in-person, webinar style. So, yeah.
Wow. So you're saying right now a lot of your customer acquisition is pretty much inbound. The Hootsuite, obviously that article did really well for you. Press, that kind of thing. Are you planning on trying to get more of that going right now, or are you just really kind of heads down, focused on getting these features built? Where is the team at right now?
Yeah, so I'm working. So the 4 of us, 3 of us, the 3 other than me, pretty much entirely focused on product right now. Again, because we kind of have a couple things in the pipeline that we have super validated, and everybody's just can't wait to get out, both our customers and us. Right. And then in the meantime, I'm sort of working on our next outbound acquisition strategy. So here's some. I mean, again, background as a developer, I'm sort of excited to try to write some sort of acquisition scripts. I'm inspired by a friend who did this really well. But we noticed that most companies that are good fits for us already have a Learndot or a Training Dot, so we can take these lists, build URL lists, just write a basically a scraper to see
Big
if you
scraper,
like
yeah.
this. Just do a scraper, and then I can just generate like a whole bunch of qualified leads pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Just
Wow.
in Ruby.
That's a great idea. You might even be able to just write a bot that'll just hit, Google and just type in, site colon and then training and then whatever the domain and just.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. I actually have one of my friends down here. He's written an app that did that, and then finds a phone number and leaves a voicemail.
Oh, there you go.
And they
Beautiful.
like A/B test through like 20 or 30 different voicemails, and they started with like a 2% callback rate, and they're at like 30. And
Wow.
so he's at the point where they're early enough in their market that he can just get qualified leads like on demand. He's
That
like, I
is
want 30
brilliant,
customers
man.
today.
That is brilliant. I love that.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. He just has like a little pipe that he can turn on. It's amazing.
I love it. That's so great. That's so great. This is why it's cool to be a developer, because you know what kind of power if you can harness that in many areas, not just development but also marketing. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, growth hacking is kind of a buzzword right now, but there certainly is some cool, like legitimate things you can do. We haven't done a lot of that yet, but that's kind of what I'm looking at going forward.
Very cool. Very cool.
Well,
It's been really great hearing your story, Paul. So in the next 6 months, where do you see you guys?
Taking over the world, man. Everyone else. No, where do I see us? I want to get us out of these sort of small early adopters that are sort of just buying into the vision to the point of like the next version of the product that we know is really going to be very differentiated and really serving that niche. That company wants to teach the world something. Get the product there and sort of start working with companies that are more sort of that early mainstream, bigger deals, bigger clients, just on the path to sort of enabling that whole ecosystem of letting the world become a smarter place, because you can just get really great education from the companies that know it best.
Wow, it's great mission, man. I love it. Yeah, I love it.
Thank you.
Well, Jeff, unless you have anything,
got some big opportunities. The wheels are just, the gears are spinning in my head. The certifications opportunity. I've got a passion for this space. I actually done some stuff in the past where people put together like a scheduled messaging system that, like, for authors to kind of deliver their how-to books in sequence, and I can totally see, how a whole wide array of people could take this tool and adopt it for their own purposes, and being able to award the students with a certification just kind of puts a bow on top, and I think it's a really great opportunity for
absolutely.
people to get smarter.
Jeff, I think you just hit on a big one, man. I know the Kindle's big now and all this other stuff, but it'd be really great if authors can literally build these sort of like bite-sized learning, sequences and then quizzing and all that. It could be a whole other category, absolutely. So.
Yeah, it's just great. It's like a whole new multimedia, format for education that we have barely even tapped into yet. So
awesome.
Absolutely.
Great to see you guys attacking this problem.
Yeah, I appreciate the support. We're really excited about it too. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's huge. And on the one hand, though, Paul, I have to say, man, your vision is big, but it's kind of scary, man. I almost wished you'd had said, dude, we're not going to do everything. We're going to do this one thing, and this one little market, and we're going to kill it. But right now, I'm just seeing like these big, massive globe, and it's just kind of scary for a small outfit to hit that. But I'm glad you got some early wins, and I hope you guys can really find that ideal product market fit.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Everybody starts small. Don't forget that.
That's right.
And if it's not a little bit scary, you're not trying hard enough.
That's true too.
Absolutely. You gotta go big.
Awesome.
We wish you guys the best. I think you guys are gonna do great.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much.
I agree.
Jeff.
I completely agree. And so I really appreciate you coming on. If people want to get a hold of you, what's a good way to get a hold of you?
They can tweet at me, PR Lambert. They can email me directly. That's cool. So it's prlambert@learndot.com. So learndot.com.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And one final question: if there are small teams out there struggling to get funded, struggling to get their product out there, what would you tell these guys?
What would I tell them? Well, which they're trying to get their product out there, or they're trying to get funding?
Or Maybe both, or any just.
What would you tell the entrepreneur that's sitting there working at a desk
entrepreneur
that's trying to step it up?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, and it's like you hear so many people talking about how it's hard and you got to, and the fact is that it's true. And the longer you're in it, I think kind of the harder it gets. And the thing that gets people through it is really actually believing in your vision. So don't get too hung up in the day-to-day, because at the end of the day, if you don't think you're actually going to be somehow improving the world, at least making an impact that you're going to be really proud of, like when you're 80 and you look back on your life, like you need to be able to really truly believe you're doing something bigger than yourself. And if you're not, then go back to the drawing board until you find out what that is, because everybody has it in them. They just need to find it.
Yeah.
Well, that's inspiring.
It's really great.
I think you guys are truly doing something great for the world that everyone can get behind. So,
thank you.
Absolutely.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again, Paul, and we'll definitely keep in touch with you.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
All right. See you next time.
See ya.